never thought that this could happen to our family, but I'm sitting here today as proof that this could happen to anybody.
How do we go from, hi, I'm Laura, to love you, Frank, in 12 days?
And I know there's a lot of people out there saying, well, how could that happen?
It's hard to watch. Some people, when you talk to them, it's the first time they're admitting that they've been scammed.
I tried to stop this many times, but I knew I would end up dead.
Sheriff's Office, this is Amy.
My name is Kelly Kowal, and
A search for a missing woman.
Deputy Javarthan with the Sheriff's Office. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you too. It's not like she'd planned to leave, you know what I mean?
Through the tragic case of one Illinois woman falling victim to a romance scam.
It's a substantial problem, and it's one that's rapidly accelerating.
CBS News investigated
This service station here captured your mom's vehicle.
what has become a national epidemic.
A surge in so-called romance scams.
What changed?
The proliferation of the dating sites.
Mr. Kim, how are you? Jim Axelrod from CBS News. It is easy.
And uncovered a billion-dollar online grift.
Could your mom have been compromised and actually been working for these guys?
I believe so.
That robs families of much more than
I
money.
have so much anger. I remember arguing with the sheriff at the time on the phone, and he just said, your mom committed suicide. I know it's hard for you, that you don't want to accept it, but that's what happened.
Hi, Chris. This is Kelly Gow, and I have an appointment with Detective Jeff Phillips. I'll take that. Thank you. Appreciate it, Jeff.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
She walked into the river in Warsaw and was found 20-some miles south. That's what happened. And I just said, you don't have proof of that. I have never been ashamed if that was the outcome. But do I believe that they have been proactively seeking out evidence in an investigation beyond suicide? No.
The beach, Cal.
If she was killed, there are still people, a person out there that is responsible for her death. And that's why I'm sharing this story.
Did you color? Wow. Oh, I just got to make a little book.
Hi, Kelly. It's Mom and Dad. Just want to say we're so proud of you.
My mom had the biggest heart, and she was a devoted wife and mother and a great friend to anyone that she knew. I always said that I wanted to find somebody similar to the marriage that my mom and dad had because they truly were each other's best friends.
After losing her husband to cancer in 2015, Laura Kowal moved to the small town of Galena, Illinois, and set up a new life.
She had all these buckets full in her life, but there was this one bucket that was missing that you or I, that nobody could fill, and that was this companionship, having a relationship after losing my dad.
So at the age of 55, Laura decided she was ready to start dating again.
My mom was actually very specific about wanting to do online dating. It felt safer.
Online dating felt safer.
Mm-hmm.
After a couple of months online, Laura found what she thought was true love on one of the most popular dating sites, Match.com.
I thought she could navigate that very well and would never put herself in any position where she would get hurt.
Laura fell hard for a man named Frank Borg, a self-described Swedish businessman, a widower living abroad but with roots in Iowa. His profile included this photo.
I remember thinking, how is he widowed? He has one daughter. I thought there were just too many similarities. It just didn't all add up to me.
Hi.
Say hi to Daddy,
Yeah, we just did a...
As the relationship grew, the phone calls transitioned to nighttime. Then they almost became more secretive. Like she did not want anyone to hear them.
Thanks, you guys.
Sure.
Very, very nice.
Laura fell for a man she never met face-to-face, conducting the entire relationship over the phone and in these. We went through hundreds of emails over the course of nearly 2 years, exchanged between Laura and Frank. In them, Laura confesses her hopes and dreams, and even her moments of panic. As if out of a playbook, Frank always had the perfect response. In less than 2 weeks, Laura professed her love for him.
How do we go from, hi, I'm Laura, to love you, Frank, in 12 days?
Clearly, my mom felt the emotions of feeling loved. And I know there's a lot of people out there saying, well, how could that happen? But they've developed this bond and this love. And it's very apparent that my mom fell very quick for Frank.
By the summer of 2020, Kelly was convinced that Laura's relationship with Frank had run its course until she received this call on August 7th from a federal agent.
I'm calling in regards to your mother, who may have been involved in a fraud scam.
I called my mom. She kind of was scattered a little bit, and she's like, just send me the voicemail and I will take care of it. Everything will be fine. And she kind of just hung up. And so I knew something was wrong. It was just this gut feeling, this gut reaction. I'm making my way to Galena, and I call our neighbor, Kathy.
According to Kathy, she and Laura were supposed to have lunch together that day.
And I overheard Laura in her driveway, and she had a phone call, and she said, well, I was supposed to have lunch with my neighbor, Kathy, and then I get a text from her that she has to cancel. This is like 10 minutes before we're going.
Your mom was on the phone with someone.
Was on the phone with somebody, and it wasn't me, and it wasn't an acquaintance or somebody that was close to either my mom or the family, because she had to specifically say my neighbor Kathy for lunch.
When Kelly got to her mom's house, Laura was gone.
Sheriff's Office, this is Amy.
Hi, Amy. My name is Kelly Kowal, and I was looking for guidance on possibly a potential missing person in Galena, being my mother.
Kelly immediately called the police.
Kathy would be the last one to see her, physically see her, and what she would have been wearing. It's not like she'd planned to leave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Her mom had left behind her dog, Effie, who was always by her side.
Effie was just laying on the couch when I got here. I just don't know where she would have gone.
Kelly turned her house inside out and then found something she couldn't believe.
Was this the note?
Mm-hmm. It says, Kelly, I've been living a double life this past year. It has left me broke and broken. Yes, it involves Frank. I tried to stop this many times, but I knew I would end up dead.
How did she sign it?
Love you, Mom.
A search for a missing woman. Laura Cowell was last seen on Friday around midnight in rural Galena.
I knew it had to do with Frank.
These scammers are typically running a number of different operations at the same time. They have a number of different victims, and they have patience.
Arun Rao is the Justice Department official in Washington overseeing romance scam cases. Last year, more than 60,000 Americans reported being a victim. Many are older singles, lonely after a spouse dies, often with more money to target. But law enforcement says no one is safe.
We believe that is also substantially undercounting the true extent of the problem.
Undercounted because people are wrapped in shame and embarrassment?
They may be embarrassed that they have been victimized in this way. They may be afraid to tell their friends or family.
Rao says his main challenge is that scammers are far away.
It's become a global problem.
Take Laura. Federal agents were able to trace her emails from Frank, not to Sweden, but here, to Ghana. The FBI has participated in operations in the West African nation and nearby Nigeria, where most of these scams originate. We tracked down a former scammer in Ghana who called himself Emmanuel and told us how scammers can trick people like Laura. Once they establish trust, hope takes over.
You need to be very good in building the trust. So when we are able to do that, That is, then we start extracting money from them.
Emmanuel says he worked with a team of scammers who could impersonate different accents. But his success depended on dating websites like Match.com, where Laura met Frank, who used a picture stolen from a doctor in Chile.
How hard was it for you to set up a fake profile?
It is easy.
Kelly pored over her mother's financial records and found that over nearly 2 years, Frank convinced Laura to send him more than $1.5 million. Most, she thought, was going into his financial firm, Goose Investments. But Goose Investments wasn't real. Frank wasn't real.
There's a script they share. You know, I love you, I love you, I love you, send the money.
Retired Postal Inspector Natalie Rita has interviewed hundreds of romance scam victims. She says she saw it dozens of times, how the heart disabled the head.
I've interviewed all walks of life, young to old, educated to uneducated, lawyers, doctors to ditch diggers. Seems to all go back to the same thing. They are just hopeful. It's love. It's hard to watch. Getting a little emotional about that. Some people, when you talk to them, it's the first time they're admitting that they've been scammed.
Prior to 2017, we didn't have a significant number of romance fraud complaints in the United States.
What changed?
The proliferation of the dating sites.
James Barnacle is the head of the financial crimes section of the FBI.
We think it's really important for the tech companies to step up and curtail the abuse of American citizens.
In 2019, the Federal Trade Commission filed a lawsuit alleging that between 2013 and 2018, as many as 25 to 30% of Match.com members who registered each day were using Match.com to perpetrate scams. 3 former executives at Match, who were there as recently as last year, told us that fake accounts were a serious and persistent problem for overmatched and underfunded trust and safety departments, the corporate offices that handle customer security. In a statement, Match Group told us, "We believe the FTC allegations have no merit, and that Match spends $125 million each year on trust and safety." After 6 months of asking for an interview, we finally approached Bernard Kim.
Mr. Kim, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Jim Axelrod from CBS News.
Hey, how are you?
Kim is the CEO of Match Group, which operates at least a dozen dating platforms, including Hinge, OkCupid, and Tinder.
If you look at our investment over the last several years, we've only increased the number of talented people, leadership that's focused in this area. It's existential to our business to remain safe.
The social media platforms absolutely have an obligation to protect the people who are utilizing their platforms.
Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen introduced legislation to force dating sites to alert users who have interacted with a scam account.
If somebody is using a platform, has been identified as being a fraudster, and their profile is taken down, the platform should have to notify the individuals who have been in contact with that profile.
Match Group told us in a statement that it complies with state law and has fraud ban notifications in place. Match says it removes 96% of improper accounts within a day. Federal prosecutors have pursued cases against the scammers when they can find them, including Laura Kowal's case. While Frank was operating out of Ghana, 3 people in Chicago alleged to have moved some of Kowal's money were charged with wire fraud, including this woman, an American military veteran and postal worker named Jennifer Gosha.
It wasn't like a ding, 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 something's wrong. It wasn't like that.
Gosha pleaded not guilty and told us she's not a criminal, but something different. A victim who was duped into helping Laura's scammers.
I served in the Iraqi war. I raised my children. I am not someone who decides after all I've accomplished in my life, now I'm going to become a criminal mastermind. So I'm going to come up with the scheme. It's not going to be this dumbass scheme.
Gosha told us the alleged co-conspirator she was dating used her to help launder money scammed from others.
Do you ever think to yourself, I played a part in someone's life being ruined?
I have thought that many, many times. And I didn't play a part in it knowingly.
If convicted, Gosha could face up to 30 years in prison. She claims she didn't make a single penny from any alleged scam.
You're saying you're a victim of the scammers as well?
I'm absolutely a victim. But
And you're a victim who may end up doing time.
And only because they feel like I should have known.
Kelly spent weeks reading hundreds of emails between her mother and Frank as she untangled their relationship. Just like Jennifer Gosha's claims about the man she was dating, Kelly discovered Frank had Laura help him move money over a series of wire transfers. Laura Kowal had become what law enforcement calls a money mule.
They use victims till the end.
Once the scammers have emptied a victim's bank account, they force them into becoming accomplices themselves.
Could your mom have been compromised and actually been working for these guys?
I believe so. There were some emails in there where she said, I'm not comfortable doing this, or, saying that she's uneasy about this.
Kelly says her mom opened bank accounts, created fake corporations, and even set up phony dating profiles for the scammers. Law enforcement says it's the scammers' way of moving money to stay one step ahead of authorities.
It just really saddens me that it got to that point that ultimately she was participating in illegal behaviors. Once we got to Sunday, I knew that my mom was probably not alive. It was one of the Joe Davies County detectives and just said, Kelly, we'd like to speak with you tonight.
This is Detective Casey Folks with the Sheriff's Office. My partner, Detective Phillips, is here. We need you guys to prepare yourselves for what we're going to tell you.
And they delivered the message to me that my mom's body was found in the Mississippi River.
The scammers, the criminals who did this to your mom, we're sitting here because of them.
And I have so much anger towards them. They took everything away from her. And my family will never get that time back.
Answers for Kelly about just what happened to her mom continue to remain elusive. She took us down the route her mom would have driven, even pulling surveillance tapes.
This service station here captured your mom's vehicle.
We started in Galena and headed down 84 South. Laura's car was spotted driving through Hanover. The last ping from her cell phone came off a tower in Sebula, Iowa, and 3 hours away, where her car was found, in Warsaw, Illinois. Laura's body was found in the river in Canton, Missouri, more than 200 miles from her home, a place Kelly told us she'd never been. The medical examiner ruled that Laura's death was a drowning, not a suicide or a homicide. Kelly believes her mom was killed. Laura Kowal was 57 years old. One of the biggest questions still unanswered is, who was Frank? Last October, Kelly decided she would find him. She logged into her mother's computer and wrote this to Frank over email.
With you again. I miss you. Can we talk tomorrow?
2 weeks later, Kelly got 3 calls in the middle of the night. When she checked her phone, she heard this.
Oh, this is Frank. Call me back.
A voice on the other end calling himself Frank.
Oh, this is Frank. Call me back.
That line to Frank went dead.
It's the scammers, it's the criminals behind those emails. It's Frank Borg from Sweden. This character, he killed my mom. And everyone that is involved in this scam, in any capacity, that's moving the money, that's placing a phone call, that's hitting enter and send on an email, they're all responsible.
Kelly has now dedicated her life to helping other victims of romance scams.
It wasn't until I learned that I was gonna have a daughter of my own that I knew that one day she would know the full story of how her grandmother passed away. And ultimately, her grandmother's story can save someone's life.